Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Manuel Martinez, and today I have here Susie Adams to come in and talk about a little bit about her great grandmother during the 1920s.
Hello, everyone. My name is Susie Adam, and thank you, Manuel Martinez, for inviting me.
No problem, Susie. Now to get into the juicy information of the 1920s. Susie, during the 1920s before the Great Depression, what did you and your families do for a living?
So, first, before I tell the story, he asks, "What did you and your family do for a living?" He asked me that question because I'm gonna be telling the story in the point of view of my grandmother. So I'm gonna pretend like I'm my grandmother. One, because it would mean the world to her, and two, because I want you guys to actually feel like you guys are in the 1920s and actually understand what's going on. So, here we go. During the 1920s, my family was going through a crazy time. We never spent any time together. I was 15 years old during this time, being my parents' oldest child. Before the Great Depression, I loved this time period because it was the best years to become an aspiring actor. My favorite films were silent films, and me and my little brother Jack would always watch them. But not only were silent films important to my future career, but the invention of the Kodak camera and movie camera was huge. My idea was that now the whole world could see me act. This was amazing. Thank the Lord that my mom had become a flapper after being a nurse during the epidemic of the influenza. Because I know that because of my papa's strict ways, being in the KKK and all, he would never let me be an actress. Even though my papa is strict, I could probably get it out of him after I tell him the money you get when you become famous and bribe him with an automobile because he was obsessed with the Model T. He thought Henry Ford was the smartest man alive. One, for the invention of the automobile, and two, for his innovation of the assembly line, which is the reason why he worked for him. But because of the days off Mr. Ford gives to his workers, Papa, instead of taking his family on a vacation, he would rather spend time with his KKK family and try to find new ways to use the Volstead Act. Not everybody agreed with Papa and his KKK family views, just like Grandma Annie. She hated his ideas, and she loved Negroes. She agreed and loved the Harlem Renaissance and spent a lot of time listening to jazz, and her favorite artist, Louis Armstrong, which she would always listen to on the radio. Deep down on the low, she was in the United Negro Improvement Association and tries to help Negroes with Marcus Garvey. Jack was my younger brother. He was in love with Babe Ruth. He would always turn to the game on the radio, but it seemed as if my brother was more informed about the news than we were because he would never move from that radio. He was the one that informed the family about the things like the Red Scare or the Skoke trials or even Palmer raids. But that's a little bit about my family.
As you know, the Great Depression was a huge problem. So where are you and your family during Black Tuesday, and what's your opinion on the Great Depression?
My brother told my family about this devastating news, but we were stubborn and we didn't listen. So we continued to work and not take precautions like save money to live better. So my dad ended up losing his job, and we lost our house, and we ended up being broke. But because my dad had invested all his money in General Motors, and when the stock market crashed, we lost all our money. And we were so poor, we had to end up living in Hooverville and eating at soup kitchens. I don't know what I would do without having those soup kitchens. But in my opinion, Herbert Hoover was a horrible president for not having a quicker solution to the Depression. You could tell that people were going crazy, like the bonus army when they tried to demand money from the government. But good thing FDR came along. He knew how to keep people calm with his fireside chats, which my brother loved. I swear he would never move from that dang radio. And coming up with the New Deal.
Speaking of the New Deal, did your family ever give back or help the community?
Good question. But actually, we did though. We weren't eligible for Social Security because of our income at the time, but Granny and Annie ended up helping with Securities and Exchange Commission. I guess she loved giving back, so she helped. While Papa found a new job in the Civilian Conservation Corps and changed his ideas in finding ways to remove Negroes and Jews. And the situation was so bad that Mama had to work. She got a new job with Public Works Administration, and then my family ended up being back to kind of the way we were before the Great Depression. Crazy, we went through all that stuff just through a short period of time.
That concludes our episode of Going Back in Time. Thank you, Susie, for coming out and sharing your experience.
No problem, Manuel. It was my pleasure.
Goodbye, folks.